Congressional negotiators reached a bipartisan agreement Tuesday that would prevent a government shutdown. Officials say the accord will restore automatic spending cuts from various programs and save $23 billion over 10 years. Now, the proposal still needs to be approved by the House and the Senate, and there are skeptics, even divisions within the Democratic and Republican parties. Here with more on this topic, our man in Washington, Chris Castile. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, Dave. Thanks.
All right, let's get into it. What are some of the provisions included in this agreement?
Well, the main thing about this agreement, really, and there's a few little things, relatively minor things, in the context of big numbers in Washington. These are fairly small numbers. The main thing it's going to do, in terms of spending, is allow Congress to spend a little bit more money in this current fiscal year. That's about 3 months old, 2 months old, and then the fiscal year following this, fiscal year 2015. So what it will do is blunt, to some extent, the impact of those automatic budget cuts that kicked in earlier this year in March, called the sequester, that led to the furloughs at some agencies, including Defense Department furloughs at the military bases in Oklahoma. So that law that was in place, that was the result of a budget bill passed in 2011, had kind of a series of continuing cuts through over several years. And the Defense Department in January would have been hammered again, under these cuts, along with, domestic agencies, from education to, labor, every one of the domestic agencies that Congress has authority over. So defense will get a big break, a relatively big break, more than $20 billion, I think, in this current fiscal year. To avoid furloughs, avoid the kind of extreme measures that they were warning about, in the last few weeks. So over the next 2 years, I think it amounts to about $60 billion, Dave, and they didn't reduce those cuts that were approved in 2011 in terms of their impact on the debt. Those cuts are, what they did was they went out and found money elsewhere. They're going to make some changes to the federal employee retirement system. New employees for the federal government will have to pay more toward their retirement. Military veterans, who have 20 years of service and retire, until they're 62, they're going to get a reduced inflation in their pension. So, airline passengers will all face a pretty modest increase in the federal tax that goes to the security, the TSA. So there are a lot of little things involved in this. A modest deal to really just kind of keep things moving along.
Chatting with Chris Castile via Skype from Washington, D.C. Let's talk about the local angle here. I understand Oklahoma's own congressional delegates were split on the budget deal.
Yeah, they are. There's some split in them. Most of them are kind of withholding judgment now. The House is supposed to vote Thursday on this, so they're not going to be able to withhold judgment anymore. They're going to have to cast a vote. But Representative Tom Cole, Republican from Moore, who was part of the negotiating committee, though wasn't like most of them involved in the very last details, he came out for it. So it's a good first step. Senator Tom Coburn, who always wants a much bigger deal, wants Congress to face up to the real problems, Social Security and Medicare growth, is against it. And but everybody else is, I think, kind of looking at it, kind of holding their powder for now. But I think there will be some division in the delegation over this.
You mentioned some voting to begin on Thursday. What do you think? Will Congress approve this?
I think they will, Dave. I think the House will approve it. It's got the top Democratic leaders, top Republican leaders have come out for it, and in the Senate, I'm not sure exactly where the top Republicans are on this, but the top Democrats over there, they control the Senate, and I think the Democrats will be able to get this thing through. Again, it's not any kind of big deal, but nobody really expected a huge deal that would address entitlement reform or anything like that. So, but beyond just, kind of adding some money to defense and other domestic agencies, what this will allow to, besides avoiding another government shutdown, that's, a critical thing. It will avoid a government shutdown if it passes, and also let Congress get back to the job of passing spending bills, deciding on the priorities. Just get back to the regular process instead of this constant, it's kind of going from year to year on these, kind of stopgap spending bills. And I really do think that there will be a change in, the whole atmosphere around here once Congress can get back to doing its basic work, which is, deciding how money should be spent.
Very good. Chris Castile, thanks for the knowledge and the information. That was some diving deep there. That was well done.
Sorry about that.
No, not at all. That was good stuff. I appreciate it.
All right, Dave.
All right, more from Chris Castile can be found in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman, and of course we'll have updates on newsok.com as well.